I'm Dr. Michael Allen. I prefer Michael. I'm a post-secondary leadership coach based out of Chicago. And we also have other representatives that will be here with us today. We have Dr. Sharon Williams from Proviso School District right near Chicago, not too far from me. We have Amanda Ellis, I believe Dr. Amanda Ellis, who is the Vice President of K-12 Policies and Programs based out of Kentucky. The Kentucky Council for Post-Secondary Education, CPE. And finally, we have Chad Lumen, who is the principal at Danville Independent Schools in Kentucky. So the goal today is really to explore OneGoal's Leadership Network. And it's particularly important to note that as we start to get into the space, there's a number of things that are starting to shift in the landscape of post-secondary endeavors, in that students are not taking that sort of traditional four-year route for college. And so students are looking for career and technical opportunities and pathways that really go beyond the traditional realm and get into the emerging sectors and industries that are very, very important. So during this webinar, I think it's important to note that our goals are really rooted in learning about our network and the impact of the work, to understand what it is that is an expectation for network partners, to hear firsthand from current district partners and really get immersed in how they're experiencing and leveraging the work, and then finally to get some audience participation and get some Q&A questions in real time answered. So before I dive in, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't take some time to just explain to you who I am, a little bit about myself, and then sort of talk about our work together. So prior to being in this particular role, I spent 14 years as a principal, mainly in the Chicagoland area. Was named elementary principal of the year in 2020, and is really over the last 2 years, in addition to my role with supporting the OneGoal Leadership Network, has really immersed myself in research, largely rooted in humanity and the emotional pieces of being able to leverage school improvement for current practicing school and district leaders all across the globe. So very excited to particularly jump into this space. It is naturally related to my career interests and research passions. So it's not just about supporting our team, but it's also about empowering young people all across the globe. So it's important to note that OneGoal's vision is very clear. Every student will have an equitable opportunity to achieve their greatest post-secondary aspirations. That is something that's largely the why we do what we do as a team, and it has really situated the work for how we approach our day-to-day and our team's direct supports. So as I look at this slide, the big thing that's important to note for us as participants, when we look across the country, the bar to the left represents the percentage of students that are low income that have access to post-secondary endeavors, and the bar to the right, 67% is the percentage of high income students who have post-secondary endeavors. We all know that talent is distributed equally, and yet access is inequitable. What's important to note is our work as a company is really to leverage and sort of level the playing field in terms of access for post-secondary endeavors for students, regardless of their socioeconomic status. That really is the heart of the work that we do, and our why behind all of the programming and supports that we provide to school and district leaders across our 6 regions. So our mission at OneGoal is to lead the movement to transform post-secondary advising and supports, and that ultimately undergirds how we look at providing supports to folks in the ways and systems in which we do. So our work is largely rooted in 6 different regions all across the country. So if you notice, we're as far west as the Bay Area. We're in Houston, Chicago, Metro Atlanta, New York, and Massachusetts. These are the areas that specifically have access to what we call our classroom model, which is explicit curriculum that supports over 15,000 students in these regions. And that's through direct curriculum and instruction, particularly focused on students. In addition to that, we have our post-secondary leadership network, or our OneGoal Leadership Network, which is a train-the-trainer model that is really about systems level improvement. If we can move to the next slide, it'll drive the point home a little bit further. Our goal here, as John says, is we want to graduate. This is his particular perspective about how he's received things. We want to graduate because I see my end goal. I see what it's like when I don't limit myself and the kind of life I can lead. It looks good. Again, the young people are the reality. They're the human side of our work, and we try to keep that in mind with everything that we do from a programming and a day-to-day perspective. So if we dive here, this slide captures the essence of our work. If you go with me to the right, for example, the OneGoal curriculum for students, that is our classroom model. That is our direct, explicit instruction piece that's specifically and directly targeting young people in the classroom. Just like they learn English, just like they learn math, just like they learn social studies, this particular class is an elective course offered to deepen their direct access to uncovering and unearthing their post-secondary endeavors. And if you follow me to the right, the OneGoal Leadership Network is for the adults. It's a system level approach to tier one approach to providing supports for young people in terms of their post-secondary endeavors. So it specifically goes into this idea of looking at how we can organize the school level systems or the district level approaches to deepening post-secondary endeavors. This is accessible to all students, not just those that take the class. When you look at the space in the middle, we like to say that's our real lived space of providing maximum access to young people in terms of uncovering their post-secondary endeavors, whatever they may be. We can, one thing that I think is important to think about here is OneGoal helps to create a strong shared post-secondary plan that invests the entire school community. As I started to talk about before, most of this work lives on and rests on the shoulders of school counselors, and our goal is to really leverage and maximize the opportunities in the schools to build coherence to really enhance the access for young people. When we go back to that particular slide earlier, that 22% of low income having that access and 67% of high income, the way to close that gap is to really think about expanding access at a tier one level across the school and making sure everyone sees that coherence in the way that they leverage that work in their day-to-day. So how our model works, and I know I started to preview this a little bit earlier, is we have what's called a post-secondary readiness assessment. I'm to the far left. That is our assess or our rubric assessment. That is an opportunity to gauge and serve as an additional data point to name and hold space for post-secondary endeavors. You follow me to the second bucket to the left, the tailored plans or your context. This is essentially the idea of connecting this area and the third, the expert one-on-one coaching into the heart of the work together. So there's targeted coaching specifically related to the context, leveraged through the post-secondary readiness assessment to really deepen that work. And if you move with me to the fourth bucket, from the left, the communities of learning, that is an opportunity for school and district leaders to engage and interface with similar districts and similar schools who are leveraging this work to really expand their access for their students. So this is the opportunity to build coherence beyond the school and district context into a larger region and share ideas and share pain points to be able to move that work forward. And finally, to the far right, the yellow or oranges bucket, the systems level benefits that increase the student outcomes. Our goal really is to really leverage a shared vision and plan to build resources and talent that are aligned to optimize supports, to make sure we're having real-time actionable data to really inform what the heart of improvement looks like for each school and district, and to really think of and reimagine what post-secondary advising can look like and be embedded in the day-to-day functions of schools. And finally, the goal here is to really leverage equitable student enrollment in post-secondary acceleration courses, not just in the school, but thinking about what that means for them as they matriculate beyond high school. So the pieces here that are really important is, as we think about year one in our timeline, much of the work is largely rooted in year one in assessment and planning and thinking about the nuts and bolts of the school improvement process for post-secondary readiness. Again, building that coherence so there's common language in the school improvement approaches, and then there's day-to-day systems that are starting to leverage that to really build the perspective that's most beneficial for students. Year two goes a little bit more into the tailored supports or the practical side of things. It really is immersed in that level of things. And then once we start to move into the final year of our support, it's about sustainability, recognizing that school districts and schools are going to live beyond this direct partnership. And the goal is to make sure that they're ready to take that plan and actualize it in a way that lives in an authentic way in their particular district or school context. So one of my favorite parts of our work in the OLN, or the OneGoal Leadership Network, is really how we leverage the rubric assessment itself. So if you see here, it's largely grounded in 7 focus areas. Our core areas are listed to the left in dark blue, and then the others that we call secondary are listed to the right. What's important to note is this particular rubric assessment was born out of best practice comprehensive research from places like Annenberg Institute, CASTLE, or Collaborative for Social Emotional Learning, the College Network for Success. And essentially the point of these 7 focus areas is to ground post-secondary readiness in best practices. These are the things that really serve the biggest bang for buck when we're thinking about deepening this work in school and district levels. The way that I like to think about the rubric assessment, and the point of it is, metaphorically speaking, the areas to the left, the post-secondary vision and the post-secondary data system, serve as directions or a leveraging transition. So I like to think of the post-secondary vision as a coach, but our directions. If we don't have directions, we don't know where we're going to go on a destination. So we need those, the vision itself. And then the second area, the post-secondary data systems, is like the vehicle. That is our coach bus, for lack of a better word. So if we don't have an actual direction and we don't have a coach bus, then we don't have a chance to reach our destination, which is ultimately unlimited post-secondary endeavors for all students. When you think about here, the 7 focus areas, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, those are like rest stops along the way. But ultimately, if you combine all 7, that is the destination of what's unlimited post-secondary access for all students. So what we know from our data through districts who've interfaced or been able to leverage the support of the OneGoal Leadership Network is, after year 1, about 95% of our partners report that OneGoal's coach has helped them strengthen their district's post-secondary readiness. In addition, about 89% of the partners report that they've developed new strategies and skills to effectively support post-secondary readiness across their district. And finally, 75% of the partners report that the support that they receive from OneGoal is having a positive impact on their post-secondary outcomes of students all across their district. I like this quote here from Brett at Rochester. For the last 2 years managing COVID protocols, I felt like a store manager. I did not feel like I had a good leader. I was a good leader. OneGoal helped me to get that focus back and see how much more is possible for supporting our students. Again, this gives a bit of a context. This is the impact that we receive at the systems level for how many of our districts are experiencing this direct support that we provide as a part of this leadership network. So what I would like to do is kind of move us into the formal time. And I think my favorite time of this particular space, and start to welcome into space the various people who will serve as a part of our panel discussion. So this is a good time to kind of welcome in our leaders from across the various states that we support. I believe we have Dr. Williams. Do you prefer Dr. Williams or Sharon?
Sharon's good today.
Okay. Amanda, do you prefer Dr. Ellen? Okay, Amanda as well.
And Amanda is just fine. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. And Chad, you prefer Chad, right?
Yes,
well,
correct.
Welcome into the space. I am excited. I've heard a lot of great things from some of my colleagues about the tremendous work that each of you are doing in your respective spaces, and I'm very excited to be able to share this with the folks who are here today. So I guess I'm going to call on you, Amanda, to get us started. Can you please share your perspective about where the challenges were in terms of what Kentucky districts were facing in order to achieve their students' post-secondary path?
Yeah, thank you so much. And honestly, Michael, you have hit all the pain points I think Kentucky experienced across all the other probably districts in our nation. You know, there's been a real challenge to get refocused and put the human capital and the support behind students focusing on their future. And it also gave us an opportunity, especially after COVID, to really take a deep dive into access, awareness, and communication of post-secondary opportunities for all students, not those who are interested or may have already known about it, but we just really have taken a real interest in the last 3 years to really push in on equitable access and opportunities for post-secondary decision-making. And so Kentucky is facing college enrollment a little over 50%, but that's been declining. And so, we have a real concern around that, about achievement and sustainability and economic mobility for our citizens. And so we also started to take a deep dive. As Michael, I feel like you've just taken all my points with your introduction, even around early post-secondary opportunities. We have dual credit and AP and IB, but when you start to really look in and dive into those access points, it's not the all. And it's a handful of our students. And so we've placed a real emphasis on focusing in on building capacity around advising, around access, and really asking folks to look at who has access, who is taking advantage, and what could we do to provide support to increase that enrollment that is more representative of our student body, and making folks aware early and often of what is out there, because we see the positive outcomes for students who do engage early in advising, in seeking out post-secondary opportunities, in engaging in those early post-secondary opportunities in coursework. But if it's not accessible, it's really not an opportunity. So we have some real challenges around that. We've set some attainment goals specific to increasing that access. So we are committed to that. And the OneGoal piece that we were so pleased to bring in to Kentucky last year was not only building capacity around our staff and those who work with students to increase the advising and awareness of all the components around that pivotal transition, but we also know, and being a former administrator myself, is that leadership capacity is just as important to build that culture, the importance of post-secondary planning for all students. And that doesn't happen overnight. There are lots of things on administrators' plates that you have to really be strategic, intentional, and prioritize that work. And so that's kind of where Kentucky is and why this is such an amazing opportunity.
Thank you so much for jumping in. You kind of stole my questions, by the way. So I guess you returned the favor. Sharon and Chad, I would like for you to give a little bit of a context as to the current post-secondary challenges faced by your district or educational systems. And just thinking about that, I'll start with you first, Sharon, if you don't mind.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Sharon Williams, the Deputy Superintendent in Proviso Township High School District 209. We're a 3 high school district right outside of Chicago proper. So we're in Chicagoland. And I am relatively new to my position. When I first entered the district, we were just being awarded the competitive grant from the Illinois State Board of Education that funded our OneGoal partnership. And we worked with our coach at the beginning of our partnership to understand where our gaps were. And this was very helpful for me as a new administrator in the school district, but also for our district team to wrap our heads around what were manageable goals for us in year 1. And now that we're in year 2, adding on the classroom model. So many of our scholars, about 60% are English learners. A high priority for our school district is that many of our scholars, they'll be first generation post-secondary college goers, and very tight-knit family. We have Triton College, a 2-year college very close to us, where many of our scholars attend or aspire to. However, we didn't have a good handle on what, if anything, our students were doing after they left our high schools. So one of our first and most important steps was for our coach to work with us around a data set that we could use weekly in our coaching, but also with our schools throughout the school year to find out where our scholars were. So tracking some metrics around 9th grade on track, freshmen on track, we track each of our cohorts. So we have a sophomore, a junior, and then we track where our seniors are. We didn't have a good handle on that. We have a better handle on that now. We also focused on developing our human capital, and we started with our counseling team. So our OneGoal coach worked very closely with myself and now a coordinator of counseling to expand our definitions of getting students ready for their post-secondary life. Our district had previously focused in on just having one career counselor, kind of a senior counselor, and that one person for each school that helped seniors, rising juniors to their senior year, understand what their post-secondary plans were. We felt it was very important for our entire counseling team to be involved in that effort and have the background knowledge to support the students no matter what their grade level was. So that was one improvement in year one with our coach. Additionally, we added the classroom model to each of our schools. That's been highly successful for our scholars. What we noticed, and I think what was the gap for us, we have 2 comprehensive high schools and 1 selective enrollment high school. And the assumption was for those students at the selective enrollment high school was that they understood or could attain their post-secondary goals. And what we noticed is that there was a gap even in our most highly performing students in terms of the steps they needed to take to get to their post-secondary goals for themselves. So that gap stood out to us quite clearly, and we are glad that the classroom models in all 3 of our schools for that very reason, again, mentioning that many of our scholars will be the first in their families to graduate high school and then also go into a post-secondary path. So I can't say enough about our OneGoal experience. It's helped us to clarify and to have real specific goals around post-secondary access for our scholars. And I think if we didn't have the partnership, we would still be doing some of these things, probably in isolation in schools, but having the district focus helps us support our schools around the goals that we've set as a district. So I've probably said a whole lot, and hopefully that stream of thought made sense, but we're very happy to be expanding also our classroom model next year for more scholars and getting that off the ground and tracking our progress now that we have one cohort who is, since we've had a partnership, going on to their post-secondary goals so that we can begin to track our progress after they leave us in high school.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hard act to follow, Chad. What are some of the challenges you all are enduring in your context from a post-secondary standpoint?
Well, good morning. I'm Chad Lumen, head principal at Denville High School. That is a tough act to follow. She hit all of the points that were important to us as well. We're a small school district right outside of Lexington, Kentucky. And the high school has about 470 kids. And I am finishing my 2nd year, ready to launch into my 3rd. And we partnered with OneGoal at the beginning of my 2nd year. A lot of my research and passions about educating students and helping them go to that next level and achieve what they want to achieve to improve their life started early on at other schools. And in my research, we were lucky to find that CPE offered this opportunity with OneGoal. When we saw this opportunity, we jumped at it because we knew the advising and the guidance that they could help unify and help bring together kind of all the different ideas and passions that we want to do. In a small school, in a small district, there's an opportunity to do a lot of personalization. A lot of students want to go in different directions and do a lot of different things. Early on, this school district had placed a lot of priority in AP and going into those advanced placement classes. And we wanted to open up those opportunities, and we wanted to provide more real world applications for the passions and desires that our students had and our families had. And so it has been a real mind shift from going directly just AP and AP only to finding ways to partner with dual enrollment. And the first thing we did was we partnered with the University of Kentucky, and we have some dual enrollment opportunities that are streamed into our classrooms, and our students get that one-on-one with that college professor, but also have the content expert in the classroom with them to help support them. The other partnership that we were very, very proud of is with our technical college, BCTC. And we found a way to be able to partner with our local campus and offer those opportunities for dual credit types of classes and different types of passions. Now, we wanted to encourage many to go to college, but the opportunity to also get that vocational experience and obtain a certificate or an associate's degree was something that was a priority for much of our community. Going into that partnership with OneGoal, we started to talk about the barriers that we had. Part of it was just lack of awareness, lack of opportunity that families did not know were available to our community. When I came 2 years ago, one of the things that really stood out to me was how much our students worked in local businesses. They were very, very proud of the jobs that they held at fast food restaurants or at different locations, just throughout the gas stations or anything throughout our community. And we wanted to expand that horizon, because if you're passionate about something, if you can dream that you want to do something more, we wanted to offer that opportunity. Our partnership with OneGoal was able to help design and develop that dual credit pathways, and not just if you want to go to that four-year liberal arts college, but also the pathways into becoming a welder, becoming a plumber, becoming a carpenter, those different opportunities that our local junior colleges and BCTC offer us. And so we never had that in our mindset in the beginning. And we wanted to make sure that we open that up. So when we start to talk about, and you hear the other panelists talk about the advising and the guidance that our teachers need to have, because our teachers are the ones that are talking to our students during that advisory time. They're the point of implementation. And if they don't have that awareness, if they don't know how to direct students into help guiding them in their passions, then our students kind of are lacking that opportunity to see what next steps are possible. We did also, with OneGoal, we started to talk about our steady state metrics, the metrics that need to be taking place to improve and make sure that we're on the pathway so that we can be included and not excluded from the opportunities in dual enrollment. And GPA is one of those opportunities that have been a huge barrier for us. And we've had to try to find ways and increase our academic preparedness within our students so that they can prove that they are ready and capable of competing and achieving in those dual enrollment opportunities. We were really, really happy about that. So our counseling and guidance, awareness, and ramping up that opportunity for our students and for our teachers to be able to guide our students has been a huge success for us. We're looking at what they need to have and what they need to be prepared in as early as 9th grade, because by the time you become a junior or senior at Danville High School, we are expecting that you're going to take a dual enrollment course of some sort, whether it is with UK or whether it is with BCTC. And so we have to make sure that we offer those avenues of opportunities with the GPA, with your academic preparedness, so that you can be successful. OneGoal has also helped unify our admin, kind of our work, what we're grounded in. We collect a lot of data. We're very data rich, and we want to make sure that we're using that in a strategic method to meet the needs of our school community, and of our partners. And so that was another part, an aspect of our partnership with OneGoal that we were just extremely thrilled about, was our community partnerships. And we really sat down and explored those community partnerships. We found out, and we surveyed, and we wanted to find more data about what they needed, what they wanted, and what we can do to increase our connection with them, but also provide the outcomes that they want from our students so we can improve our community. So that's just a quick synopsis of the work that we've done with OneGoal. We've been very, very fortunate to have this partnership, and we can't say enough about it.
Thank you so much, Chad. Having sat in your seat, I know that eases a lot of that anxiety transitioning into a new role and trying to really come up with a clear vision for staff to be on board. So it's I'm very grateful to hear you and your experience. So thank you so much for bringing it into the space. what I want to do is I want to shift back to Sharon for a second and dive into, thank you so much for sharing the systems wide approaches that you all have towards really building coherence in at Proviso. I'm wondering what you all are doing at that particular context to really create the most common thing I'm seeing when I travel in with Julie, who is your coach, but also other colleagues into schools, is young people who are college ready, deciding to take non-traditional entrepreneurial paths. What are you all doing in your particular district context to sort of provide a bridge for them? It's been a fascinating conundrum, if you will, or reality for me as I travel in to spaces and talk to young people. They have multiple colleges they could go to, but they want to do something that's a little bit more non-traditional. So I'm just wondering if you could share what your thought is and what you all are doing or planning to do in Proviso to create a bridge or entry point for the folks in that situation.
Yes. So a lot of things came to mind when you said that. This year, we did conduct a senior survey, and that was a gap we had in our district to understand from the scholar what their plans were when they left after they graduated. We're looking at that data now to understand where there are gaps in terms of scholars who are ready for an academic post-secondary opportunity and what they have decided to do when they leave us. So we're just beginning to understand where those gaps may be or where our students are deciding to go after they leave high school. I'm also thinking about, and thank you, Chad, for mentioning dual credit, dual enrollment, and other opportunities for our scholars to get post-secondary credit while they're in high school. So we are strengthening in our CTE dual enrollment and dual credit coordinator sits on the district OneGoal team so that we can strengthen our partnerships with, I mentioned Triton is a 2-year college that's very close to us, to strengthen those opportunities. What we found is that there was a gap in access between the 3 schools. So as you can imagine, our scholars and their families at the selective high school knew about dual enrollment and dual credit and advocated for their students to make sure that they were enrolled in some kind of dual enrollment, dual credit, et cetera. But our other 2 comprehensive high schools did not have that same level of access or knowledge. So that's one way we're trying to close the gap to ensure equity amongst the 3 schools for those opportunities to get into a college classroom or get college credit while you're in high school. We also have a partnership with a barber school and a cosmetology school. So many of our scholars are engaged with that path for themselves. And many do mention that they do want to be an entrepreneur in that area. And so they're getting the training they need in barbering or cosmetology to get their license there. As I mentioned, we didn't have any data until this year about where our seniors are planning to go. So like I said, I still don't have a good grip on where the gaps are with certain scholars in terms of identifying their next step. And I think that is one of the strengths for our OneGoal classroom going forward. We will have a better understanding and, like Julie says, we're trying to go wall to wall with OneGoal so that all of our juniors and then looping up to be seniors have a solid plan. So if you're planning to go to work, that's great. We hope that we have prepared you through your high school trajectory to get to a high paying, high demand job once you leave. If you're not sure, we want to make sure that you have all the options laid out for you so that you can choose that best next path. And if you want to go to college, we want to make sure you're prepared for that, or 2-year or 4-year. So like I said, we're still getting our hands around that data, and I think we'll understand better this next year how our scholars are thinking about what that next step is. We're also going to get our National Clearinghouse subscription. In the district, we haven't previously used that database to track our scholars once they leave as well. So we're going to have that data source as well to help us understand what's happening once our scholars leave us.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. Very powerful points. It's always fascinating to hear the work that the districts around the Chicagoland area are investing in their students. And this is really inspiring to hear. I've had a lot of support in districts, elementary districts around you, like Hillside. And so I'm very excited to hear these are the steps you all are taking. I think it's very timely and appropriate. I do want to take a moment to do a not so shameless plug. For folks who are interested in trying to find out more information about some of the stuff we're talking about, you could go to our direct website, which we just dropped in the chat. I think it's onegoal.org, and learn a little bit more about our work and some of those particular endeavors. I want to also come back to you, Amanda. You're such an amazing resource in your state. And I'm interested in, Chad brought up this point earlier, that I feel like it's clear to principals who are currently in the field, there is this resurgence of folks needing to have a lot of clarity around what it means to have a post-secondary vision. And yet many of us who are in the field, we don't have the skills to lead that work at the rate in which we're expected. And so I'm wondering what you're doing from your context, Amanda, to really help build that capacity from, leveraging the OneGoal Leadership Network, but also just thinking from a tier 1 access to training leaders, school and district leaders with this work, because it's so much more robust than it was 10 years ago. And the urgency of being able to learn this, to lead the work, is more incumbent than it ever has been. So I'm wondering, what are the efforts that you feel like you're getting from OneGoal, or you're doing it at large to really attack that particular challenge, which is unique to the profession right now?
Yeah, so great question. And this is an ongoing challenge. So really, a lot of this conversation started a couple of years ago when we reignited a P20 council in Kentucky. It's called the Commonwealth Education Continuum, and it's led by our President Thompson at CPE, the Lieutenant Governor Coleman, and Commissioner Jason Glass. And this was the conversation of really the future of our citizens. Our 60 by 30 goal is 60% of our working adults will have a credential or a degree that will lead them into a sustainable career that will provide for their families. And so by 2030. And so in order to do that, it can't be one entity or the other. It can't be one thing you do, but it's a combination. And honestly, Michael, I think about the slide that you put up that had community, principals, teachers, students, parents. It's really a community effort to place an emphasis on those post-secondary plans and that transition into that next step, whatever that may be. And what is so encouraging to me is it's not a one track. There are lots of avenues for students to go, but if they don't know, or they don't think that they're worthy of pursuing that, then there's a barrier before they even get started. And so, for us, what we did is we took the conversations from our continuum that represent 28 different role groups from preschool all the way into workforce. We went into our state and all of the regions and said, tell us your lived experiences. We want to elevate those. And what the common theme that bubbled up that has pushed us to pursue this work is we don't know what we don't know. And those of us who work in schools, we're intimidated by the FAFSA ourselves and student aid and all these options. We didn't have these options. We couldn't earn 20 plus credit hours in high school. We didn't have work-based learning. There was co-op, So our world of those of us who are educators have changed and how we advise. And so we realized really quickly communication was one thing. And connecting dots. A lot of times higher ed would tell us, our higher ed reps would say, we are all about our community, but we don't really know how to get into the schools sometimes, especially during COVID. And then our K-12 partners would say, we want them into our building, but we don't know who to reach out to on campus. Is it admissions? Is it enrollment? Is it recruitment? Like, where is it? And so part of what we've done is just start connecting dots of like, did you know? And so one of the efforts we were able to do in addition to OneGoal is using ESSER dollars. The Kentucky Department of Education agreed to partner with us to offer these opportunities with some funding. And so we said we've got to take a multifaceted approach. And we've worked with KIA, which works with all of our financial assistance. We've worked with our community colleges. We've worked with our 4 years and our school districts and the agencies that align with those, saying, did you know? So we started a Kentucky Advising Academy, which focuses on all the folks who work with students, not always the counselor. To your point, sometimes when one counselor is assigned to 1,200 students, you do the best you can with what you've got, but there is no real preventative and strategic approach, because you can't get the freshmen and sophomores and juniors and seniors and do all the things. And so we're like, you have to invest in the teachers who are with these students all the time, but equip them with information. There's got to be time to be able to do these things and opportunities to learn. So we worked on the Kentucky Advising Academy that we have up and running, and a big focus of their work has been, do you know who your partners are? Who are your business and industry partners in your community? Who are your post-secondary partners? Do you know how to get in touch with them? And did you know how these are some ways you can partner? So then you are building your capacity to reach out to students. It's not just the few people, but it's many within your community and within your school community. And then how I mentioned before, OneGoal really hit an area that we needed, and that was leadership capacity, to think through, how do you approach this? This is not easy just to come and go, oh, we're just going to plop this into what we do. It needs to be how we do work. And to really Sharon and Chad's point, I'm so encouraged by all the work that they're doing, because it's not easy work. It's in addition to all the demands of their job, but if you prioritize these things to help students see that they do have a future, and there are opportunities and they are worthy of pursuing that, a lot of those other things fall into place, but it takes strategy. And we are so data rich. You know, in Kentucky, we have a longitudinal data system that would blow your mind. They track kids from preschool all the way into workforce. We know what the commuter patterns are of our citizens. But at the end of the day, if we don't use that data, as Chad mentioned, to our benefit, to better the lives of our students and change some of our behaviors and improve our practices, then we've let that resource go to the side. So we're doing lots of those movement pieces, Michael, all around. You know, even when we talked about our dual credit, we set an attainment goal. And it's not just getting more students in, but it's being more representative, being more intentional, looking at our local policies. What kind of gatekeepers do we have that shouldn't even exist? How do we build those partnerships, as Chad and Sharon both mentioned, about providing lots of pathways? And did you know this is an option for you? If you're interested, let's get you there. Let's do some shadowing. Let's figure out who our community partners are to help you understand more about that possible career, whether you run to it or decide you run away from it. It's not what you really want to do. That's okay too. But we have to build those opportunities, and we have to do it through a lens of everyone deserves that opportunity, not the handful. Everybody deserves a chance to see what their future could be. And that means it's going to take an army. And real collective strategic effort about what we know, and based on what we know and our analysis of wherever you are, where do you go forward? How do you build that plan? And OneGoal has just been such a benefit for our districts who've taken advantage of the coaching and of the opportunity to do an assessment of where they are and where they can go. And so for us, it's just in a real pivotal time for Kentucky. We're really pushing on the value of higher education, not meaning that is always a 4-year degree, that there are lots of different post-secondary options, and that we see that as opportunity for our citizens, and that we not only see it, but we make it available and we communicate those opportunities. So OneGoal has just been a big part of our strategy. It's a part of our strategic plan at the Council on Post-Secondary Education, which is very weird to have a K-12 focus goal and a post-secondary strategic plan, but that's Dr. Thompson's vision of, we don't start when they enter, we start with pre-K and kindergarten all the way through, that it's a mindset of opportunity and access to reach your career goals. And we want to be a part of that. We're a stepping stone into that career. And we want to be a pivotal part of that. And so we feel like that this is a real opportune time. When you see challenges, you really see opportunities, and it's time to step up and be actionable. And that's what we're trying to do. And so this is just really the this has been good for me to hear today, but it's also a good reminder of why we do what we do and why it's important to continue those partnerships and that growth with a focus on the future for our students.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. What I want to do before I transition to the last question for this space is, again, just remind folks who are looking to gather more information about us. We're at onegoalgraduation.org, onegoalgraduation.org for more information. This is to anyone in the group. It's a very timely question. I think Chantel was able to lift it up into the space. Thank you so much. When you think about non-traditional in the sense of older age high school students, undocumented populations, and students entering the existing school context, we're thinking about that transient population. What are some recommendations you have for how to actualize post-secondary endeavors for students in this particular type of situation? This is a unique challenge that I think we're confronted with at the school and district level, but I'm wondering how you are attacking that. Not to put you on the spot, Chad, just because you're next on my list. We'll start with you, but it is to the entire group. What are some ways that you're specifically able to think about post-secondary endeavors that your school or your district may start to leverage over the coming year to target this particular population of students?
Well, we're blessed to be so small that we can personalize that. So we get to know the student. We get to find out more about their interests and likes and dislikes and passions, visions of what they want to do, and even offer those opportunities of what we can do. We've been very, very intentional about developing and growing our CTE programs, programs that not only are, like I said, vocational, but also can lead to other four-year degrees, master's degrees, and so what we want to try to do is we want to find out where the student is and what they're interested in, and then be intentional about setting up a pathway to allow them to achieve what they're interested in achieving, and not just for Danville. We want to make sure that it will translate if they move somewhere else and they actually have the certification, they actually have the pathway that they're on, so that if they leave us after a year or after 2 years, they're able to move to another district and they'll have something in hand that says, hey, I have achieved this, I am moving towards this goal, and we'll be able to continue helping. That is our goal, is to make sure that it is translatable, not just something that is specific to Danville, something that's just in our little small community, but something that, hey, they finished 2 courses at BCTC and also the CTE course here at Danville High School, and now they have a certificate of completion. And that certificate of completion gives them the certification of what they've done, so that it can also equate to moving on to, let's say they go to a larger city in Jefferson County, and they have, they want to continue on that pathway. Well, we're all in conjunction with what this certificate means that they can do and what they've demonstrated. It is a challenge. It is something that we see as a growing population, is our migrant population, our population of non-English speaking first language students, that we are making sure that we connect with, and we offer this support within our community and make sure that we're meeting the needs of those students specifically.
Thank you so much. We're a little limited on time. I think you did do a pretty comprehensive job of that, Chad. I appreciate that. Here's what I will say about this. This is one of the things that's really a unique skill that all of the OneGoal coaches possess in thinking about how to take this abstract work, post-secondary endeavors, the PACE framework, things like that, and really make it human and practical to your individual context. This, Chantel, is a very timely question that I think all of us in the educational field and leadership roles are thinking about. How do we particularly touch this population of students, recognizing their humanity matters to us and it's really, really important to plan for. So I certainly want to welcome future conversations to tackle this particular topic, but I didn't want to move on without addressing it specifically in this space. What I want to do now is kind of bring us to, we're near the end of our time, is to thank our panelists for sharing your expertise. Chad, Sharon, Amanda, this has been amazing to share this space with each of you. I can't tell you how much I've learned, so I'm hoping it's been equally valuable to the folks who are tuned in. And I'm looking forward to staying in contact with each of you in our own way over the coming year. Keep up the great work and stay the course. Know that you're making a difference in the spaces that you are leading. For the people who've tuned in to this particular webinar, I am very grateful on behalf of the entire OneGoal Leadership Network team. to have you in the space. We're hoping that some of this information has proven to be valuable for you and your work. Before I move, I want to bring us to important logistic. There's a lot of folks who've reached out with interest in being a part of the OneGoal Leadership Network. Just important to note that our deadline is July 15th. It's important to note that we're looking forward to collaborating with you so that we can provide more equitable opportunities for students in terms of their post-secondary pathways and endeavors. Again, one easy way to get in contact to learn more information about us is at onegoalgraduation.org, onegoalgraduation.org. And before we formally wrap up, I would like to launch our final poll, which is an opportunity to see which folks want to stay in contact with us and receive more information about the OneGoal Leadership Network. So if you could indulge me for a second, please fill out the final poll about staying connected. We're just interested in whether or not you would like to stay in connection with OneGoal beyond this particular webinar. So again, thank you all for your time. Looking forward to staying in contact with each of you. Keep up the great work of empowering students in your respective spaces, and know that we're here to partner with you should you need any support from us in any way. Until next time, bye.